Welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawks What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner. I am joined by my co-host, Adam Emmerich, and the protector of the multiverse, Mr. Phil Leidick. Boys, I have no idea what to think about this Jacksonville Jaguars team. I just don't. I watch the games. I'm watching them come back. I watch Trevor rumble, stumble, bumble, and somehow find the end zone. They're 4-1. They beat some quality teams, I think. Guys, I don't know what to do with this game, but it's going to be a lot of fun talking about it right here on What If. Adam, how you doing, bud?
To quote a movie that the great Patrick Swayze starred in, I'm going to say ditto to that.
Do we get the clay? I mean, are we behind the clay at this point, or is that
absolutely? Yeah, on the stool, making a vase or whatever it is they were doing.
It was.
Yeah. Look, this Jags team, it's not one we come across very often. It's in a division that we don't pay a lot of attention to for all the obvious reasons, Phil. And I think we're all grasping at straws a little bit because when's the last time, other than this last Monday night, because we knew they were coming this week, that you sat down and watched a full Jacksonville Jaguars game, Phil?
An entire game, maybe playoffs some time ago, because they don't do that a lot either. They got a cool name. They seem to be in London a lot. I keep waiting for them to be our team that goes to Europe because Jaguar just sounds cooler when a Brit says it. And
true.
Great name, ugly jerseys. I don't understand how you could have such a cool cat, such a cool animal of creation, and you have the weirdest jerseys. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're not great, but this team might be good. They might. I mean, hey, they are 4-1. They are 4-1, and they took down the Niners, who are 4-1. They only lost to the Niners. They just beat the perennial powerhouse Chiefs. It was a weird game, that's for sure. And as we get into it, so we usually do a previously with the protector. We're not going to do that fully, but you did have some DVOA stats you want to run through. And before we get there, I got one additional thing that I think is going to be a fun kickoff for everybody watching too. So by the way, I titled this one "Suddenly Scary?" Question mark? Because it's going to be really interesting to see what we think about this team. And of course, subscribe. You know what to do. It helps a ton. YouTube.com/Seahawkers podcast. One of the reasons to subscribe, guys, is that we put out lots of polls out on YouTube. It's actually a great polling mechanism. So put something out there for JSN this week, and maybe it comes into how we talk about this game, fellas, too. Simply said, hey, JSN's off to the start that he's off to. Where do you think he ends the season? This is assuming health. So we put up 3 categories. Let's see. Let me get my peepers on, guys. Put up 3 different categories, and if I could read them, that'd be really, really good. Here we are.
I could read them off for you. It's bigger on my screen. So we've got the first part of the poll, JSN to go between 1,200 and 1,399 yards, so just under 1,400. 28% of the respondents coming in there. And then we've got JSN going from 1,400 to 1,550 yards, 38%. So a jump up. Not a massive one.
Yep.
And then over 1,550 yards. And these are the true believers, 34%. And I think, to me, guys, that what stands out here is how almost dead even this is. It feels like we all kind of believe that he's going to be 1,200 plus yards. It's just a matter of how high does the ceiling go? How much do we incorporate him? How much do other teams try to start to take him away? How much do we start to lean more on the run game later on the year? It's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool exercise in how high can this go. So, Mr. Phil, if you had a vote or you did vote, where would you have cast it?
I think I did vote, but nobody put none of the above. Nobody put none of the above. So I guess that means nobody thinks he's going under 1,200 yards, or they didn't have the option. But a third of the fans think he's going to go under 1,400. I think if he has a healthy season, he'll definitely go over 1,400. And why not go over 1,550 if you're going to go over 1,400? No, I'm not sure how it'll end up. I have a feeling if he played 17 games, I feel pretty good about him getting over the 1,500 yard mark this particular year. And we need him to play 15 to 17. I'd like him to play 17 games because I think he might be the most important Seahawk, which is really weird to say about a receiver, but it's really close.
He is a very important Seahawk at this point. Obviously, where Sam goes to when he has to go, and when you throw the ball 34 times, you got to go often. So, a couple of things that go along with this that I think are just cool to watch, and like little stats that are with like why we ask this question is because it's I want to see how people answer, and it leads to more conversation too. So, real quick pop quiz: either of you guys know who is the Seahawks all-time single season receiving leader? So, yards in a season.
Bobby Ingram.
Good guess. Good guess. Wrong, but good guess.
Yeah.
DK
Phil?
Metcalf.
DK Metcalf. 1,303 yards in 2020, right? So we got the COVID year with nobody in the stands. So just over 1,300. So a couple things here. JSN needs 64 yards a game to break the Seahawks record. If he does that, like 64 and a smidgen, he'll eclipse DK Metcalf's record. He needs 723 yards, or sorry, 72.3 yards per game to get out of that 1,400 yard bracket. He needs about 85 yards a game to get over 1,550, and he still needs to average a little over 101 yards a game to get over 1,700 yards. And the reason I took that mark too was that's only been done 14 times in the history of the NFL to get over 1,700 yards. So talk about monster seasons, monster, and it's only been done one time, well, two times by the same dude. Any guesses who's the only NFL wide receiver to go over 1,700 yards twice in their career? Any guesses?
Randy.
Nope, not Randy.
Cooper
Nope, I know what it is. It's Calvin.
No,
Calvin.
not Calvin. Calvin was close. So Calvin had the most ever, right? And then Cooper's right below
Yeah.
him. So Calvin almost got to 2,000. Cooper almost got to 2,000. Got to watch Nakua. Nakua watch. He's on pace to beat both of them, which is interesting. It's Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is the only NFLer to ever get over 1,700 twice. Antonio Brown was at 1,698 one year, and then one year he was like 1,800. He shattered it. Another year's close, but no cigar. So just interesting stuff to stack up against what are like all-time seasons, all-time Seahawks seasons. Like that 1,303 for Metcalf, very, very, very within reach. Of course, you got to be healthy, but I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about that exercise because, as you said, Phil, he might be the most important Seahawk, which is a little weird. Adam, does that give you the heebie-jeebies if a wide receiver is the most important Seahawk, and do you feel that way?
I think he's one of the top 3 most important Seahawks for sure. And you could put him in about any order for me, and that'd be Sam, JSN, and Charles Cross. Like you lose Charles Cross and things start getting really wiggy.
They might.
I think that's kind of where I go there. But you missed an option on this poll though. Like I know there was none of the above, but that shouldn't have been it. It should have been yards don't matter. Like because I could give 2 rips if he gets anywhere from 1,200 to 1,700 wins. What or 1,700 yards? How does that translate to wins? How does that translate to making this offense go? How does that translate to us having a successful season offensively? That's all I care about. If he had 900 yards and we won, 13 games, like, what do I care?
Yeah, understood. And I do know your point on that. I think it's a good one. But stats are fun. That's why.
I get it. Yeah.
They are.
I was
fun
thinking
stuff.
along those lines too. I'm like, the yards don't really matter, except that JSN makes plays that really do matter. Like they really keep us going. They keep us on the field. They keep us moving toward advantageous situations. He draws so much because he's so destructive. He has the most explosive plays, right? Most explosive receptions in the league right now. He has more than like 4 teams when it comes to 20-yard or better catches. I mean, he is changing games. He's tipping the field.
Yeah, him and Sam got something special cooking, and I'm sure we'll maybe talk about that as we start to preview this, Seahawks at Jags game. So typically we would do a previously with the protector where you'd run down what you saw, Phil, from the game previous, but we were probably all watching it. We were watching Jags at KC, and it was a Monday night thing, so we could put a spotlight on it. And there was some other DVOA stats you wanted to bring to the table, maybe to square up, maybe just how good or are they that good Jags team we're facing, because they are 4-1.
Yeah, typically Jags stands for just a guys, and I'm not sure they're just a guys, but there's a lot of guys we're not that familiar with quite yet. And one of their most famous ones is somebody who I don't think is very good for a starting quarterback, that is. But for DVOA, they are 12th overall. The Seahawks are still second even after last week. But on offense, they are 15th with a 20th pass, but they are second in DVOA in rushing. When you watch them, for probably the 2.5 games I've watched them, their rushing attack does look very, very steady, if not dominant. Their defense is third, and they're pretty legit in DVOA with a 5th passing DVOA, rushing 10th. They have 10 interceptions, 3+ in each of their first 4 games. So they're getting picks. They're getting picks from the linebackers. They're getting picks from the corners. This is a solid defense with a really good running attack. That's normally a good formula. I don't think they're a better team than the Seahawks. I watched them play the Chiefs. I'm not sure what the Chiefs are quite yet. I don't feel like they're winning because of Trevor. Trevor had some nice runs. He just misses a lot of throws that I think good quarterbacks make. In fact, he misses opportunities that I think a lot of good quarterbacks notice from what I've watched of Trevor. Whenever my boys and I are watching him, which, like you said, isn't a lot of times, but somehow we've ended up, because of the Niners and because of Monday Night Football, they're like, boy, I would hate being a fan of a team where Trevor Lawrence is my quarterback and having to watch letting the clock run out, missing guys that are open, just some of the bozo stuff he does would be really exhausting. What have you guys seen from this team in the times you've watched them, or maybe this past Monday when they played the Chiefs? Adam?
Yeah, for me, there's a couple things. For example, with the Chiefs, one of the biggest factors in that game was the Chiefs couldn't quit committing penalties, and they really did kind of shoot themselves in the foot on that. And also, the Jags are +8 in turnover margin on the year, and I think that's what really helps a team that has a portion of their offense that does struggle. And it's not just the quarterback. Brian Thomas Jr. having a little bit of a second-year slump, and Travis Hunter finding his way, and De'Ami Brown, and people have opinions on him as well. But I think this 4-1 thing is probably over their skis, but also I don't think that they're the traditional 3-win Jags either.
Yeah. How about you, Clinton?
I think the general thing is that I think Liam Cohen's doing a good job with what he has and maybe getting the most out of this potpourri of like decency and interesting stuff. Like Brian Thomas Jr. has been very erratic and they're 4-1. This guy was an absolute rock star last year. Like it was like Malik Neighbors, Brian, BTJ just going toe to toe. And he hasn't been even like very good yet, starting to play a little better now, just more consistent. And they're 4-1. Travis Hunter, who they picked second overall, he's been in and out of pockets of impact, and they're 4-1. So I always kind of worry about teams like this that might be, it's like, when are you catching a team? And they might be peaking. And this is not just because they just beat the Chiefs at home and everybody's going nuts. Now it's another home game and we got to go cross country. Yes, those things are all true. It's like some of their better players and more known players are peaking a little bit. The last thing I'll say too is that I think they do a good job of getting ETN enough touches. And, I was just looking up his rush attempts. It's somewhere over 16 per game. Comparing that to K9, who's under 14 per game, and it doesn't sound like all that much. It's only a couple, 2.5 or so. But in what world should K9 be touching the ball less than Travis Etienne? I think Etienne's a pretty okay back, pretty good. But I think the Jags commit to it a bit more and use their number one personnel in a way that we have been a little critical of Cubes when it comes to making sure Sharps gets his touches. I think they do a nicer job of that too. So just some things to watch for.
Yeah. You feel the run game when you watch the Jags. You definitely feel the run game. I mean, you don't always feel the run game in the Seahawks game, but you definitely do in a Jags game.
Well said. I like that.
All right. Well, for our theme, I'm sitting here in a hotel in the middle of Yakima, Washington, the middle of the state. But when we talk about the U.S. as kind of a rectangle, you go from a northwest corner down to Jacksonville in a southeast corner. In fact, you could pretty much put Jacksonville just about in Georgia and cut off that that area that Clinton loves to visit down. No, Florida's a lovely place. I don't want to discount that at all, but Jacksonville's right there at the bottom of the corner if it was just a regular rectangle. So because I don't know a lot about Jags, and I didn't really want to go welcome to the jungle, though that was a possibility. We're going to go from the corner of the country to the other corner of the country. So we have a corner matchup. And so all of my questions will have something to do with the word corner. And I believe, let me see, we are currently 3-2, which means Clinton will be going first. Our first topic has to do with the corner flag. Now, that obviously comes from soccer, but I want to talk about flags a little bit because it was kind of upsetting to me this last game. We've been doing so good with penalties. It seemed like, and Adam already poked at it when he talked about the Chiefs having issues. What if the Seahawks, Clinton, can right the ship regarding penalties? How important is this issue going forward? Do you have some ways they can correct it? And is it important, Clinton?
Yes, it's definitely important. So let's look at the first side of where it's been pretty good and less frustrating and more consistent. The offensive line's been pretty good. Now, yes, Zabel gets tagged for a hold on a stretch play. Sundell doesn't take a beat on a screen and he ends up a few yards downfield too much. Those are frustrating. And with that, overall, the offensive line has actually been pretty clean. So I think to the positive, that's a cool thing. Where we've seen lots of flags, and especially when our top defensive backs are out, is just back there in the DBs. That or just blown coverages, right? Which we were kind of haunted by against the Bucs. But yeah, man, it's hugely important. The Jags team, when we're watching them, and the couple of games that I went back and looked at least a little bit, and of course watched the Chiefs game with a lot of intent. It's still like, okay, Lawrence's ability to make a big play downfield, and they will take their shots on the boundary downfield. And I don't think they're great at it per se, but how do you improve that, even if you're like not the most accurate quarterback, is you draw PI. We watched Tyler Lockett do it for years, even like the last 3 years of successful years with Seattle. Even if he wasn't getting over the top, he was doing enough to get open and then draw PIs deep and keep the chain moving that way. And it's just another way to give up chunk plays. It shows up differently because it's kind of eradicated from the books, just shows up as a penalty, but it's a chunk play. And the Jags are going to take their chances that way. So how do you eliminate it? Well, I'm not sure you can in 1 week. Tariq Woolen gets handsy. He just does, even though very often I don't think he needs to, because I think his speed will do what it has to do. But he gets handsy. He gets up. He gets in people's shoulders and their helmets and kind of easy places to draw flags. What can we do there, Phil? I don't have great answers there. If they want long developing plays, you just got to be more disciplined. I don't know how you go about it versus just executing. I'm not sure if you have other ways. You're like, hey, this is a way in which we can eliminate some of these DPIs.
How about you, Adam? Go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes to DPI specifically, I feel like this falls into one of Mike Macdonald's favorite phrases that we hear over and over again. I feel like a lot of those end up in the cost of doing business category. Now, obviously, Reek has had a couple egregious ones where you're just like, come on, man, you got to get your head around and you got to be paying more attention. But if you're going to play sticky coverage and you're going to be close to the receiver and actually give it a go in covering them, in today's league, with the way the rules are set up and the way the refs are eyeballing it and the way they call it, which to me, I feel like they could cut down on about 35% of the DPI flags in the league. And I think we'd be closer to where we need to be in letting guys play and let defenders have a chance. So on DPI specifically, I think that's just a tough one. If the Jags are going to just chuck it down there and do the Derek Carr and that's their vertical offense, just try to draw DPIs, then you got to be watching the receiver's hands and making sure you get your head turned around the second those hands start to flash, and just trying your best to not give the official any excuse. And I feel like the biggest way that you can do that is by getting your head around early. That seems to give you more leeway in all the contact when it's further downfield than just about anything else.
Definitely. When they see the guy's head doesn't get around, if he even touches them, it seems like they're throwing that thing up.
Yeah.
Just been going that way the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next one. We're going to go to corner window, Adam. And I don't know how much you've watched the Jags, but they definitely, and around the league, they're getting a lot of notoriety for this. They definitely are good on the back end against the pass. But have you some ideas for Mr. Darnold? What if Darnold can find some nice passing windows without helmets in the way, right? Some nice passing windows where he's not going to try to bounce off opponent helmets. Where can we expect him to see some openings against this Jag defense, or do you think that's going to be kind of an issue this week?
I think it's going to be the opposite of an issue. I was stunned when you said that their pass defense was as high as it was via DVOA. I'm not sure how they came up with that, considering they're 26th in the league in passing yards allowed. I mean, that's bottom barrel of the league down there.
I think it's probably all the picks. It's got to be a lot of it to do with the picks.
It must be.
10, that's because I was thinking the same thing. 10 interceptions counts a ton towards how you're impacting your score.
Right. And you got to remember too, I mean, they're playing the ilks of the Panthers, Texans, and Bengals in there as well. And I mean, it's going to be a little easier to get your extra picks that way, but I think Sam's going to have a day. I really do. I think that's going to be the complete difference in this game. I think he's going to be able to pick these guys apart. And I worry about that a lot less than I do about making sure we stop ETN. But we can get to that later on. I'm sure you got questions coming up about that. But in terms of the pass defense, with Walker out, I mean, who on the defensive line particularly scares you compared to some of the edge rushers we've seen at the beginning of this year? There's not a lot out there that gives me the heebie-jeebies. So I think this is going to be a very successful game for Sam Darnold, building off of a overall very good week last week.
And you're not worried about picks?
No, I mean, look, I mean, Sam can't be doinking one into the helmet and having him picked off, but overall he's done a good job. The thought process was there about taking care of the football. He just executed it really poorly. I think he's done a yeoman's job of really just limiting the picks. Now, he did have 2 or 3 balls in this last game where you're like, got a little scary.
Penalty saved us on one. I mean,
Yep. But I think it's going to be okay. And I think we could even survive a Sam Darnold pick in this game.
Okay. How about you, Clinton? You see some windows of opportunity here for Mr. Darnold, in particular against the Jags?
Yeah, I think so. And just to leap off what Adam was saying too about the defensive line, I think Trayvon Walker is injured, right? We're recording this. It's going to go out Wednesday night. We don't have a full report just yet, but I don't think he's playing. He's clearly one of their better folks down there. But Eric Armstead's still a quality NFLer. He still messes things up. Josh Hines-Allen, he's good. So they seem to me kind of like us in the sense, like Seahawks, like, okay, maybe they're not running a dude out there with 15 plus sacks, but it is a competent NFL line, and they can disrupt quarterbacks. Now, how do you mitigate that? Look, Sam's quick game was also on point. So the stuff to AJ Barner, the quick stuff to Cooper Kupp, even some of the quick stuff to JSN on some slants was really working versus Tampa Bay. It was very kind of poetry in motion. These are high probability, high success. Sit down in the zone, turn up field, get as much as you possibly can, as much as the linebackers will give you essentially, or safeties and corners if they're playing press or down the box, whatever. Get as much as you possibly can. So get those free, easy yards. For seasons, it's been a struggle bus for our Seahawks where those free yards seemed inaccessible. They weren't there. Now they really are there kind of when we want them. And then, of course, you go stretch the field and you take your shots to get over the linebackers in between safeties to the boundary, et cetera, et cetera. Just watching the only thing I would say to kind of butt that up against is look, the Chiefs did that okay, but so much of the Chiefs, everything right now seems to be like Patrick Mahomes' hero ball. It's just like, okay, Mahomes Get us out of another one. Okay,
Yeah.
Patrick, get it. Because they run the ball so sporadically. They got Pacheco. I know this is not about the Jaguars, but they got Pacheco. They refuse to give that guy more than 10 touches a game for whatever reason. Hunt's good down the goal line, but they don't run well. They don't run.
It's weird for Andy Reid's offense to look so disjointed.
That's it. Everything looks like a struggle with them, right? And I don't think that's a Jaguars thing, because I've seen the Chiefs go through this now for basically at least like a year and a half now, where it's disjointed. It's not as good. And yes, they lost a lot of talent on the wide receiver group. We don't have that problem. And so where the Chiefs were really disjointed and it was a lot of hero ball, I just don't think we need to do that. So quick game. Just get that pace. I would still like us to run the ball better and with a little bit more intent. But if we don't, supplementing it with quick game does work in the NFL. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I do love that a lot of our plays look like we're moving the ball by how they're drawn up. You might get one every 2 or 3 drives where Sam makes something out of nothing and it works out, but we're not seeing that over and over every handful of plays. That's a great point. We're going to go to the next section. Of course, corners. We're going to talk about cornerbacks, Clinton. And we've already talked about penalties, so you can kind of erase that part of it. But we do have a lot of questions, I think a lot of fans, about our corners right now. What if we talk about the corners' issues from the last game? How do you expect us to address those? And if you want, include safety situation, anything with DBs kind of. Because it's corner, I said cornerback. How do you think we might address? Because we were looking pretty good, and then we didn't. Is it just pass rush? Is it injuries? What do you think?
I think skill level dropped off tremendously. You know, you lose Julian Love, you lose Witherspoon, so you lose your best safety, you lose by far your best cornerback. It's not debatable. People could talk about, okay, is he the best man? Is he best man quarterback? Is it? No, Witherspoon's the best corner on the team. Mm-hmm. And if you want to move him in the box, he's absolutely deadly. You want to put him outside, you want to put him in the nickel. He's just a pro, and he changes how you have to go at things. So I think first and foremost, it's like, can we get healthy in time? Seeing some reports today that there's no news yet, that they're going to give another day or so before it's Wednesday. So Julian Love's hamstring, what's up? Devin Witherspoon's knee. Reek Woolen has a concussion. So will he make it out of concussion protocol? Sometimes football is complicated. Sometimes it's really simple. Adam, you talk about this a lot. This one I think is pure skill level really was dropped down and the depth was exposed. And then in addition to that, we talked about this on 3 and 3 out. There were some plays that we had flagged when we looked at some tape review where it's like, look, you can't afford 2 types of Reek Woolen where 2 corners want to be finesse and don't want to stick their hats in there and go make tackles in the run game. You can't afford that. And if we try and pull that off, and look, we got lucky that Bucky Irving didn't play, and the Bucs still did enough with the run game. This is a team that's going to run the ball with more purpose.
I guess they got it. In the red
did enough. It's just like us keeping the team honest with the run. That's all. You know, hey, they Rashad White scored twice, right? So this team's going to run the ball with more purpose also, and I think they run the ball better. So we can't be finesse. My challenge is, I think with some of the personnel that's replacing some of these guys, they're not the types to bring their hats like Witherspoon does.
So you just think it's not going to be good. Adam, do you have any ideas? How can we improve? Well, let's say we don't have Woolen back. We don't have, and Spoon I think is probably more 50-50. Love seems unlikely. Is there solutions that you can think of for improved cornerback play? I mean, I could think of one, but it has nothing to do with our team.
Well, I think there's a couple ways that you can go here. And first and foremost is, let's see if Eman Wari can play a full game and not get dinged up through it. And I think just having him out there to be an extra safety / box defender / nickel guy, I think that helps.
Is he a linebacker or is he a DB?
Yes.
What was Tyrann Mathieu? I mean, what was the Honey Badger?
Yeah, he was a little more DB.
A DB, but that really liked to play.
But he was also a safety. I think he's in that vein, right?
That'd be cool. I'd love that.
a very versatile guy. I mean, kind of in the same vein as Kyle Hamilton to a degree in that sense. So I think getting Eman Wari out there more and letting him grow into his game, I think that could help with the pass defense in the short term with all these injuries. I think the other big thing is it's a pretty obvious roster move. Just elevate Shaq Griffin.
Yeah.
Like let's take Pritchett off the field. I understand, as Mike's comments that he's looked good in practice and all that, Pritchett, but hasn't been able to transfer that to the field. And if you can't do that, that's the number one qualifier of whether or not you continue to have playing time. I think Shaq Griffin can go out there and be a corner, like a league average corner, which Pritchett wasn't able to rise to that level in this last game. And then the other thing is, if you don't want to have a rookie and rely on Eman Wari a bunch out there, let's get to some more 3 safety packages and let's get Okada out there with Bryant, and then let's get Clinton Bonner's boy. Let's get some DeAnthony Bell out there, and he's a guy that's makes plays. He does when he gets his opportunities. He tends to make plays. Get him on the field, and then you compound all that with Trevor Lawrence's inconsistencies, their wide receivers' inconsistencies, having a young wide receiver group on top of all that who are still kind of coming into their own and all that. No Strange out there, and he's been their leading receiver all year. As far as pass defense goes, strangely enough, that's not my biggest concern for this game.
Sure. I think the biggest improvement is going from Baker Mayfield to Trevor Lawrence for our DBs.
Right. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to get home on Trevor to get him to make mistakes like you do with Baker. Like, you can just have pressure of some kind, and that's enough to fluster Trevor on the regular.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit. Corner on the market. What if there's one area of the game, offense versus defense, where you think we have the biggest advantage, us versus the Jags? You can pick our defense or our offense, but saying specifically against them in that area, we have a great big advantage. Go, Adam.
I alluded to it earlier. I think passing offensively is going to be our biggest advantage in this game by far. It's the thing I feel the most comfortable with going into this game. Just the consistent success that we've had in the passing game with all of the pass catchers that we have to threaten the Jaguars who, their defense, again, whether you believe in DVOA or not, whether you believe in kind of traditional metrics, I'll leave that up to you. In my opinion, doesn't look to be as stalwart as other people think their pass defense. So I really like that matchup, especially when you get our tight ends, especially Barner matching up against some of their linebackers who haven't been great in coverage either. I think that's a great place to start. And I think Darnold will feast because, look, if you don't get a massive amount of pressure on Sam Darnold, he tears you up. That's what he's been doing. And I don't think that they have the horses up front to overwhelm the offensive line consistently enough to get them off rhythm in the passing game.
I know, Clint, one of their linebackers leads the league in interceptions with 4. That might not mean Lloyd. That might not mean he's a great pass defender, but we do want to watch out for Sticky Fingers Lloyd, or maybe he's just Lucky Fingers Lloyd. I'm not really sure.
Well, yeah, there's their other linebacker. It starts with the O. I can never pronounce his name, but he's given up 80% completion rates.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, I think it's Oluokun, right? Oluokun, I believe. But he's in their will, and Devin's their middle linebacker, and he's in a contract year. This is an interesting player. He was a first round pick in 22. They did not opt for the 5th-year option on him, and now he's having this kind of year. So, but interceptions, he's leading the league in interceptions as a middle linebacker. That's just the most high variance thing there is, right? It's like, okay, how many more times is a middle linebacker going to get a ball thrown in his chest because the quarterback didn't see him? Yeah. Or do the hook drop exactly the right depth and the ball's underthrown and it's in his hands. So
he's a Klingon spaceship. He has a cloaking device. He just appears out of nowhere.
Yes, not to take anything away from him. Hey, you got four picks this year in 5 games. That's amazing. But we talked about it a little bit earlier too. The Jaguars have been, while they're giving up a ton of yards, and sometimes yards don't matter. In this case, they're giving up a ton of yards, and they've been highly dependent on turning the ball over to the positive. So Seattle's been pretty good about that. So it's like, can we be clean, and can Sam be clean? And what's part of that is not having to ask Sam to throw the ball 32 plus times. Like, I'd like us to be in a sweet spot of 27 times, 28 times, 26 times if we can, 25 and less if we could dictate the game that way. That's a really good recipe for our success. One other package that, biggest advantage, our biggest advantage is versus them is, to me, we have been like really deadly in 12 and like the jumbo personnel. It's like 12 and 13, et cetera, et cetera. We don't use 13 all that much, but we certainly are in 12 a lot. Passing, running pretty well out of 12. And then also the condensed formations where you've got Cup on the line and Bobo, because Cup is a very, very good blocking wide receiver. He does a really good job. But the biggest advantage to me is
Bobo was too until this week.
He didn't have a great week this week. Yeah, not his best week. Penalties and everything else, right? He just didn't have a great game. But out of the 12 personnel, they lose Brenton Strange. And if you listen to Jags folks who love that team, it's a true difference maker, because he is like their AJ Barner. He's the guy that can go in line and be a great blocking tight end and get out and be a weapon, like you said, leading the team with receptions. That's a big ding. So just comparing what they can do with their tight ends versus what we can do with our tight ends in 12 personnel, or a condensed 11 where Cup is kind of playing de facto tight end, I think it's a big advantage, guys. And it coincides with that quick game I was talking about earlier. So if we see a lot of that formation and we're successful with it, I don't think it's something Jacksonville could mirror with their current makeup. I think it's a pretty big advantage for us.
Okay, well, my next section was injury corner, but we've already been poking at that quite a bit. I'll just review the main ones that I had and see if you guys had any further comments. You mentioned Brenton Strange. He's huge for their offense in all the ways, like you said. And then Trayvon Walker, that's their real pass rusher, defensive end. He's going to miss this game. Not sure if there's any other key injuries except potentially their center. He might be out. They might be playing a 7th round draft pick in a rookie. On our side of the ball, of course, we've been talking about it's hard to get real information. Hall, we know, is gone, and he's kind of been our best defensive end pass rusher, and we're still not getting home, but he seems to provide some of the best pressure. What do we know about D-Law? I think it looks like he's going to give it a shot along with Witherspoon. I think tomorrow they're going to try to practice, see if they're up for it. Love, just the things I'm hearing, I'm not sure that he goes this week. And then Woolen, with concussions, you never know, but they did say he's coming through it well, but that could change quickly. Clinton, anything you want to add along the injury front, where you're concerned or where you feel like we might be able to take advantage?
Yeah, I think the concerns are just for me, it's where they are before with the DB room and the safety. Well, safeties, DBs, corners. To me, that is, I think we have enough depth. I certainly will miss Derek Hall, and there's depth there. And, I'm jumping around a bit, but do we finally get to see Jared Ivey play some football this year? That's a name to watch. Like, to me, last week we get to, an hour and a half before game time, and we see inactives. And so, D-Law is out. We know he's out with a quad injury. And then we see inactives, and Jared Ivey's inactive again. It's like, wait, I know what I saw in the preseason. I know what his tape looks like in college. Yes, he's a UDFA, but this was the UDFA that people are like, I can't believe he wasn't drafted. Oh, he had a bad 3-cone. Adam, he had a bad 3-cone. And if you have a bad 3-cone as a defensive ed, your ceiling is so limited in the NFL because your 3-cone's bad. Meanwhile,
how are you going to play against 3 cones at a time out on the field if your 3-cone score is terrible? I don't know how a guy does it. Yeah.
So we're down D-Law, and we don't replace it with Ivy. This week, without Hall and D-Law probably not making his way back. We'll see. We don't know yet. I expect Jared Ivey to get some run, and that's a dude I am actually pretty confident in, that we could plug and play and be like, that's what an NFL edge looks like. Maybe he doesn't get home, but he does a job out there.
Well, we got a plan. We got to at least have a plan. That was hideous last week. The pass from the outside was just garbage.
It wasn't great, and we were probably less aggressive than I think most Seahawks fans would want us to be. I know we're known for, hey, we only rush 4 and we still get pressure. We do that, but sometimes that doesn't work.
The worst was when we did blitz, we didn't play tight coverage.
Right.
So we're blitzing, and then they got the quick pass, right? You got to combine that. And obviously Mike Macdonald's a million times smarter at running defense than me, so something was a disconnect. if you're going to blitz an extra guy, then everybody needs to plaster, right? Because the balls should be coming out quick.
I mean, just one last point on that. You might be more apprehensive to blitz when you're lacking a bunch of your starters behind them, and the two things don't work together. So, and you're not getting home with 4. You're not even really getting enough pressure with 4, and you still got players behind that are your second or third string guys, and they're being gapped in a zone scheme. You're not playing enough man. So, canvassed a lot there, Adam. If there's things you want to pick up, of course, or go a different direction, Bud, take it away.
Listening to Mike's press conference a little bit, he mentioned Ivy a little bit. So I think you might be onto something there with him coming in. I also think too that with some of the blitzes and stuff that Mike had going on in the game, I think there's just these games as a coordinator and a play caller where you dial something up and the opposing coordinator, not knowing, exactly what you're going to do, obviously, has a menu of 10 plays that they think are going to work. And they happen to pick the best one of those 10 against the one that the call that you dialed up, 3/4 of the time. That felt like what happened a lot in that game. And I think that's what you heard Mike reference to in his press conference, is just kind of like, golly, I couldn't get a call to land all day. And it's just a rhythm thing. And that's kind of the way the NFL works and the ebbs and flows of it and all of that. The original question was about injuries, right, Phil? Yeah. The idea being that, look, we just need to get Spoon back. I honestly think that if he can be healthy for this game, I think that changes the whole dynamic of the back end of the defense. Would I love to have Julian Love back? Yeah, I'd love the hell out of that. But with that said, I'm with you, Phil. What I'm hearing, it doesn't sound very confident. And but Okada's not a dumpster fire either. So I think that they could be okay there, especially against a passing attack here with the Jags that, as I've stated a couple times in the pod here, I'm not necessarily a believer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have so many other things I'd like to say. Well, one tidbit, which isn't totally related to this, but kind of when we're talking about our pass rush, and you mentioned D calls, I feel like Baker is really savvy at kind of diagnosing what's going to happen and coming up with solutions. I don't think we can expect that from Trevor, just from what I've watched with him, being somebody that's like, he's going to see it coming the same way Baker was. So I just don't expect we're going to get abused like Baker was doing to us last week, but that was free. We'll go to the final area, which I have as cornerstone. And maybe Adam shot holes in my thought a little bit by already talking about their pass D, but supposedly from the things that I've read and by DVOA, the cornerstone of their team is their rushing offense, which I think we'd agreed. And supposedly on defense, it's been their passing D. Their rushing D isn't necessarily awesome. The cornerstone of our team is clearly our rushing defense has been great through it to good, somewhere between great to good throughout the year. And our passing offense has been awesome. So when you think about these opposites, our pass offense has been really good, which Adam has already shown that he thinks we have the advantage there. So maybe when I go to you, Adam, you can talk a little bit about the other side. We haven't talked about ETN. So their rushing offense has been their success key. Our rushing defense has held teams up. How do you think the opposing strengths as they come to play here, which is going to be the team or style that imposes its strength the best in this matchup? And again, you've talked a lot about our passing offense. So maybe you want to touch on our run defense versus their running offense, Adam.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be, defensively speaking, this is the key for the Seahawks. You can continue to stay on schedule with what you've been doing in terms of stopping the run and then daring Trevor Lawrence to have to make you pay and to beat you. That's it. Like that's got to be your game plan. It's, rule number 1, stop Travis Etienne. Rule number 2, stop Travis Etienne. Rule number 3, whoever Etienne's backup is, stop him.
Tootin.
Tootin. Is it Tootin? Because didn't they have Tank Bisbee still too? Isn't
they
he still
traded
around?
him to the Eagles, so he's an Eagle.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
All right.
dubbed
So
him.
former Seahawks punter Tootin is their backup running back.
Yeah. But look, I haven't seen a running offense. This is including some dynamite backs like CMC, come in and just tear the Seahawks up yet. And I have a hard time seeing the Jags doing that with Travis Etienne. I think that's something that they can contain and keep it to a reasonable amount of yards, like 80 or 90 team rushing yards would be like a fantastic day.
Oh yeah.
And then at that point, you're making it real tough on Trevor Lawrence. So I really like our odds there. I think that's the part of our defense that we can totally hang our hat on. In terms of the offense, I mean, I want to say I recall when I looked up their rushing defense yards, they were a top 10-ish, 15-ish rushing defense. So
they're number 10 DVOA. Yep. And they're number 3 with passing. Yep. For defense.
Okay. Yeah. And the passing DVOA has to be picks. I was looking at picks like as we were looking into this, and these are the ilk of players that they picked the ball off from a zillion times. They picked off the ball twice from Bryce Young. We all agree Bryce Young stinks. Yeah.
Yes.
Clinton, that great play at the end of last year, like didn't translate.
It's not great.
He's not.
And then Jake Browning comes in and replaces Joe Burrow in their week 2 matchup.
Not great.
And throws 3 picks.
He shouldn't be a backup in the NFL. No, he's not good.
That's right. CJ Stroud behind literal traffic cones for an offensive line throws 2 picks, and then injured Purdy throws 2 picks. Like that's not murderer's row there. So I don't fear that. So what we really do need to do to balance this thing out is I would love to see them get the rush game going and test that Jags defense in their rushing defense, because I do think that's the strength of their defense. I think it's more the rushing defense than the passing defense. They've picked off a bunch of crap-ass quarterbacks in crap-ass situations, and their numbers look great for DVOA. Well, it doesn't match up with the yards and kind of the eye test. So just keep pounding the rock, even if it's not super successful. Let's get that going, and I think it'll be a solid day.
Strength on strength, Clinton. How are you feeling? Our strength versus their strength. Adam's making me feel pretty good.
Yeah, I think so sticking with the defensive ability to stop the run, I feel as good as you possibly can about that, right? You got your big 3. They're healthy. Leo, Jaron, and Byron Murphy, right? They're good. And we got rotation guys that are in there doing their work too. So awesome.
EJ better take better angles on the running this week.
He had a bit of a rough day too, right? So, and he made some nice plays as well. It's never not all bad or good, but yes. And the thing that bugged me last game, especially in the first half, which was really starting to get tiresome quick, was watching Baker escape and use his legs. And one thing Trevor Lawrence will do, which we haven't talked about yet, he's run the ball 25 times. Yeah, so we talked about Byshell Tootin, their backup runner. He's run the ball 25 times. So Trevor Lawrence has run the ball as much as their backup has run the ball. And in their averages, they're averaging about 28 rush attempts per game, including Lawrence's scrambles. So it's not a small number. Now they're averaging about 32 attempts, 32, 33 pass attempts. So they're sitting like that kind of NFL average 55, 45 mix, which is pretty healthy. Trevor Lawrence will use his legs. Even when we rush 4 and we play zone, that is very susceptible. And you're not spying a guy. You're not keeping the dude home versus Trevor Lawrence. It's not Lamar Jackson. But what it does do is often it opens up a lane. And Trevor Lawrence will take that stuff. And Baker certainly did. So just something to watch out for. It's like, well, I love the strength when they give the ball to the running back because we're good. I could see something being very, very similar to the last game where we're sitting there just be like, damn, 3rd and 8 and Trevor Lawrence is sneaking out of bounds for 9, or it's 2nd and 10 and we had a great first down and it's 2nd and 10 and Lawrence gets it to 3rd and 2. That's going to happen a few times. It's very frustrating, but something to watch out for, I guess.
Even when he gets stepped on, falls on his booty, still got to watch out.
What a wild play. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're through all of our main questions. We're going to get to our wishes, but we do have some in the Discord. While I'm looking those up on my phone, Adam, how do people get in our Discord, which is awesome?
Yeah, go to gettheflock.com. Become a little flocker. $3 a month to get in at the level to join the Discord. You get to have all the fun on game day. If you're jonesing for Seahawks talk and people to chat with throughout the week and even through the offseason, guess what? A lot of the little flockers are there, and they're there with great commentary that's all over the map too. You got people with wildly different opinions and thoughts about the whole thing. And so I can guarantee you this, you won't be bored. And it's worth doing for $3 a month. Hell, you can't even get a latte a month for that price anymore. I mean, you can't even get half a latte a month for $3 a month at this point. So go to gettintheflock.com, join the Patreon, get in at the $3 level, and thank us later.
From the said wishing well from the Discord. There we go. Frosco's the first one to get in. Leonard Williams comes up huge as the D around him is injured. At least one sack, multiple TFLs as we stop the run and get back to our winning ways. I love it, Frost. We need a big game from Leo. I agree. Car, I want to pick 6. I don't even care from who, but our defense needs redemption this week. Love it. Josh, our front seven's able to apply the pressure and actually get to the quarterback. After only one sack, hardly any pressure on Baker, the Hawks defense needs to remind the league who they are. Bunny, injured or not, our defense rises up like a phoenix from the ashes, poetically stated. Michael Knight, the final wish of the week, K9 or someone rushing for over 100 yards. Well, Michael, I think if someone rushes over 100, it's probably going to be K9, so that would be awesome. You guys have any particulars about those set of wishes, Clinton?
Yeah, I do like, and it was the first one, but when Leo is less than superhuman, we saw what we saw. And then when he's absolutely destroying all monsters out there and having like all pro style games, man, do we make it a tough day for not just run the football, but certainly when Leo is disrupting things up the middle. I don't care who you are. Like, again, ask Tom Brady. He experienced that twice in 2 Super Bowls, and he had bad days against those Giants, right? So that one to me is like, man, if Leo can be a bit of Superman, Adam, I would probably sign for that one first.
Yeah, and I think that's in range for Leo any given week, especially against a roster that's relatively unproven, even at 4-1, as the Jags are. Car with the idea of the pick 6. If you made me write down a short list of quarterbacks in the league that I believe could give you a pick 6 at any given moment, Lawrence is probably in my top 4 at that. Just with his history and the way that he's played right now, he's basically one read run type of guy. And if you get him moving just a little bit and he has to throw and you've got him contained, it starts to get a little wiggy for him. So that's in range. I could see a pick 6. Would that be our first of the year? I think it would be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to say.
His balls, when he's on the run and he throws, it seems like the ball barely lands in bounds. Like,
dude, he's an erratic dude.
Just goes wild. So, yeah.
Which I can't figure out because that was not on his college tape at all.
Yeah. Okay, your wishes last week. Adam had us winning 17-13 in that low-scoring rock fight that he was predicting.
So right. Yeah.
And he nailed it. And then he had Sam throwing – his wish was Sam throwing 0 turnovers. I sure wish that had come true. Who cares about his score pick? Because if that had come true, then we would have won, and I wouldn't be feeling sad about the overall outcome. And then Clinton had us winning 27-24. And he had an A-gap sack. Can you guys remind me where our sack came from?
Well, it was DeAnthony Bell blitzing. I don't even think it was the A sack. I'm not the A sack. I don't think it was the A gap. Nuosa came off the edge. Bell looped inside. Yeah. It was A-ish.
It was A adjacent.
It was A adjacent.
Yeah. I think you get it.
Clinton gets the win anyway because he had the closer overall points and he had the closer margin because he picked us winning by less. So we do move on to your picks. Clinton gets to go first this week. We travel to the other corner of the continental USA to face the Jags. What's the score, Clinton?
Yeah, so score, I actually, I might have sounded a bit apprehensive throughout this episode and wanting to give the Jags a little credit at 4-1, and they're going to stay home after a big Monday night game, and they just beat the Niners, they just beat Kansas City. And look, Adam, we've talked about this, and I've shared on the podcast that, sometimes I end up in some text messages with some ex-Seahawks at this point, which is absolutely thrilling. And a thing that I was reminded of pretty recently was like, hey, watch what happens when you play the top QB competition. Like, what happens to teams when that happens? Now, of course, Mahomes is top tier still, even though the team around him is not. Adam, you went through the rest of this Jags run so far. I think Stroud's pretty good, but that team has not been supporting him. By the way, they're getting better. Watch out next Monday night. Texans are finding their groove a bit. With all that said, I think we win this game. And I think, when we get nervous as Seahawks fans, like, oh man, we're going to be put back in our place. Some team's going to move us down a peg. And then sometimes it does happen to us. I think we're going to do that to the Jaguars this time. I just got a feeling about it. So with all that said, I think we win this game something like 27-17. I think we win pretty convincingly.
Good. 27-17. I like it. I like what you're thinking. How about you, Adam? Did he steal your score?
Get out of my head. I hate that. Well, all right, then we'll go because my original thought was 27-23. So let's go there then. But a couple of things that would concern me as a Jags fan. One, that was a choice I made. And then two would be that that at the end of the day, you're coming off a big win over the Niners, a massive win over the Chiefs. Now you got like a measuring stick game, like, are we real? Are we real? Like, we got to 4-1. We beat, a beat up 49ers team. We beat a dysfunctional Chiefs team. Now here comes the Seahawks, who've played everybody tough this year and have been very consistent. Can we get up to that? I think that's a lot of pressure for a young team with the first-time head coach. And you see these types of teams start to read their press clippings a little bit.
Yes.
And I feel like that's where this could be for this team in terms of mentality. And, you talk about, Clinton, the idea of Seahawks fans are always kind of like, maybe this is a week we get put in our place and that sort of thing. How do you think Jags fans feel? Like, they gotta be thinking that more than anything. Like, 4-1, what are we talking about? This hasn't happened since, Mark Brunell was the quarterback, I think. And
Nice.
So at the end of the day, like, I think that they're probably waiting for the other shoe to drop, even more so than 12s are with the relatively good start that the Seahawks have had. So I think there's a lot of things just narrative wise around the team that kind of build up that you're due for a letdown, and the Jags are due for a letdown, and the Seahawks are prime to take advantage of that, because I think our biggest strength matches up against one of their bigger weaknesses. And Clinton, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
I know you agree completely because it's great.
Yeah, just one thing to add to that too. I always try to listen to the opposing podcast the week of, just to get their flavor. What are they thinking? What's what? The funny thing is about, are they feeling like, oh, we're due to be knocked down a peg? It doesn't seem that way. At least with the, there's a ton of Seahawks pundits out there and a ton of Seahawks podcasters. It's much more limited on the Jag side, by the way. There's just less.
Do they have an English accent, Clinton? The podcast for the Jag fans that
they're working on one. Yeah, that's funny.
They can take Rob Staten.
So one of the things that I've been hearing is that, like, they expected that against the Chiefs. Like, that was like, oh, we're going to get knocked down by the Chiefs. Now that it didn't happen, and it's like, oh, we beat the Niners and we beat the Chiefs. A couple of the pundits I was listening to are like, is this a Super Bowl team? So they were like accelerating into this bicycle, this hype bicycle of, is this a Super Bowl team? And I look at this and go, I don't think so. You might be a good team. You might contend for the division and you might make the playoffs. That's good. I don't, at a 60% completion rate, Trevor Lawrence, where it's still not quite there yet. I mean, could you improve? Of course, players can improve. But a lot of that.
He's not good.
Well, again, look, I hear you, and players can get better. And he was not in the best situations the first couple of years of his career. those things could be true also, right? He's in a better situation with Liam Cohen and better wide receivers than he was a couple of years ago. With all that said, they are buzzing on, oh man, we might be a Super Bowl contender. And I would really like to knock them down off that pedestal because I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
Look, man, if you're a Jags podcaster, you haven't had anything fun to talk about again since, Tony Baselli was out there blocking. So like at the end of the day, I could see why you may be a little extra fired up. You're getting into it a little bit more. I mean, feel yourself. Like I get it. But a lot of pride comes before big falls too. So good luck.
Well, I went backwards. We haven't got our wish yet, but maybe this order works better. You guys have already predicted your score, your what if Super Hawk, Clinton. Is it going to be MJD? Are they going to resurrect a 4'9" running back?
The bowling ball himself.
He's more sausagey than ever. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beefy boy. I like MJD. So no, I have a specific one. Of course, it's a wish. It's got to be specific. I want Sam Darnold to throw under 27 passes. That's what I want.
Okay.
I think if he's under that mark, we win this game going away.
If Sam throws under 27 passes, it's an easy win for us.
Sorry, let's make it under 28. 27 or under. 27 or under. Under 28 pass attempts. And I think we win this game. Sweet spot. Sweet spot Sam right there.
Okay. Adam, how about you?
You're not wrong. That's where the balance comes into play. And I think you are hitting, as you put it, Clinton, the sweet spot. And so my Super Hawk wish really isn't that far off from yours. It's complementary to it. I want Ken Walker to finish with 2-1 the amount of carries of Zach Charbonnet.
Ooh, I like
and you do that, and all of a sudden I think that run game has a real shot to take down one of the bigger strengths of this Jacksonville defense, and that is their rush defense.
Okay, so Adam has K9 carrying 2-1 more times than Charbonnet. I like that a lot because all the reasons. The talent is just different.
Phil, real quick too, it was 10-9 last game, and okay, that seems oddly balanced, right? 10 for K9, 9 for Charbonnet. So to get to 2-1 ratio, we're not talking about a dramatic overhaul there for Adam's wish. You're talking about doing 14-7. And then you're there.
And then
Yeah, so it's just or something like that, or 15-7 again, right? 7 or 8. It's right around that, and I would give you that one if it was 15-8. I'd give it to you.
Were so bad at defending anybody that went out on a passing route. They were just so not great at it. It was probably hard for Clint to say, "Why am I going to put my arm behind my back when they can't even stop anybody that goes out to catch a pass?" 19 rushes is not enough. But
8.6 per carry from K9. And
there we go. That's what
10,
I wanted to say. Sharp's getting 4 yards per carry,
which is fine.
K9's getting 8.6 yards per carry. I'm a stupid man when it comes to math, but that's a heck of a lot more. 8.6 compared to 4. Just even if. Look, if you like the idea, if you're Clint Kubiak, of throwing the football more last week because the Bucs were having a hard time stopping it, great. Yeah. That's fine. Then with the remaining rushing plays that you are using, for the love of everything that's holy, quit using Zach Charbonnet at the rate that you're using him.
Yeah.
It's a waste of K9's talent because this very well could be the last year of K9 that we get as Seahawks fans.
Yeah, and I think
with him going into a contract year.
He has to have 15, 16 carries in him before he gets tired, right? And just
least.
Play K9. If he's on a pitch count, get all of his pitches. He's so much more explosive and talented than Charbonnet.
He's just the kind of dude that we've seen in the past that if you kind of give him a little too much, he has gotten dinged. So maybe they're super reserved and they have history to talk to reason why you could be that way. And as Adam just said, this is your last shot with K9. This might be it. You might be able to re-sign him or not, but he's going to go to free agency. Why he's not getting 16 attempts per week or more, it's a little frustrating because he is the best. He is the most dynamic player out there, and that's saying a lot. As we started the conversation with JSN and we're ending with K9, he's still the most dynamic dude out there with the ball in his hands.
And let's make one thing clear on top of all of that. Is that there's one position on the football field that you should manage snaps or the way you play the game or however you want to put it in terms of injury, and that's quarterback and quarterback only. Running backs, you don't throttle touches because you're afraid of your running back getting hurt. You can't play this game with your personnel afraid all of them are going to get hurt. The only one you should be afraid about getting hurt is your quarterback, and that should affect some of your decision making. Otherwise, if K9 go, like if we get the game day and it's like, yeah, I'm a go coach, great. Get ready, bud, because you're handling the rock. Like, I don't understand living in fear of playing your best players other than, taking precautions to keep your quarterback safe.
It's weird going into a game thinking with this season that I'm not worried about the offense, because it's up until last week I'm not worried about the defense, and then last week happened, and so now I'm like, I'm not worried about the offense. So now it's going to flip on us, and who knows what could happen. But we don't have anything else to say about this game against the Just a Guys, but maybe they're good. Not sure, Jags. I don't know what we're going to get into. I do feel good about us. I think we have the advantage. If we don't do well, then I think that's on the coaching staff. It's on the players not reaching their potential. But with everything that we've said, everything we've talked about, hope you that have listened could add your thoughts into the YouTube comments. I always enjoy reading those. We'll probably respond back to you. But with that, gentlemen, I think there's just one thing left to say. So what if we say, Clinton?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Beat the Just a Guys.
Go get a win down in Duval.